Hi, this is Scott with Android Guys, and I'm here with Luke.
Hey, everybody.
Luke, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
CES is behind us.
Yeah.
Now, we didn't go.
We did not go. No.
We opted not to out of the abundance of caution that I think a lot of people opted out.
Yeah.
I mean, it was anecdotally, regionally, here, it's a hot mess with the pandemic.
Yep.
But it was, I think, a lot of outlets I noticed pulled out or kind of had no intention of actually going this year. And exhibitors as well. It's a different animal. I thought for sure we might have had a more... Well, a few months ago, if you would have asked me, I would have thought, yeah, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think it's, it took a year off, 2 years off.
Yep.
I don't know, even with Mobile World Congress being another 6-7 weeks away, how excited I am about traveling to something like that.
I know. It's strange, too, because there's so much... Everybody wants to get back to life. Everybody wants to get back to normal. It's just... I don't think normal is going to be what it was before. And so I think we're trying to get back to that, and I don't know if we ever will. So it'll be interesting to see how when things like this come around, what kind of changes are made.
How big is CES going forward? Yeah. How big is Mobile World Congress?
Right.
Do we see more standalone phone announcements remotely?
Right.
Just like take the Google route recently and just kind of announce it online.
Yeah.
And make it a press release.
Right. Well, and I know a lot of those conferences or trade shows or whatever, there's a lot of handshake deals and a lot of things that happen there that are outside what we do. We're just covering news and first looks and stuff like that. So those are actual, events where deals are being made and things are happening. So they won't go anywhere. I think we'll always have something, but it'll be interesting with, how the world evolves after this. Really, what does it look like? Does it look like what we were used to? Yeah.
Well, even for us, we meet, PR teams and people, and it's the faces to the names. And if you're dealing with a different firm, it's nice to meet them in person. And, they can show you around their different products or different brands and kind of let you see some of the things that are exciting, new. In the past, when CES, when we were first doing Android Guys, a decade ago, CES was a big deal because there were a lot of phone announcements.
Yeah.
Now it's more of, I don't want to say a necessary evil to go.
Sure.
But it is, I feel like it's necessary in at least the every other year. Yeah. If possible, to catch up.
Yeah, and keep faces. Yeah. Talk to the people that you talk to every couple months. We're hearing from a lot of these same PR people and firms and companies and contacts and stuff. The other thing that's cool about those is when you're in person, you get a little bit more of the why behind. Yeah. It's a lot easier to hear backstory on products and their thoughts on moving forward and why they're shifting technology or why did we decide to come out with this kind of features and stuff because that's just easier to explain than putting it in an email. Right. So those are the cool things that I like when we do those kind of things, is to really get a better sense of the brands in general. And to walk the aisles and see trends. Yep. And to kind of see different brands kind of exploring the same topics. Yeah. Going after things, seeing where their heads are. Yeah. You kind of get a feel for like, oh, everybody's all in on this now. And so I do like the idea of going. I'm not excited right now. Yeah. And I just got over having COVID here. So it's not so much the concern of myself getting it again. Sure. But I don't know that I'm ready to deal with people in a way that is just Yeah, you can only control so much, right?
Yeah.
So it's why put myself in a situation of unknown factors when I don't necessarily need to.
And I don't know how great my immune system is in the wake of having it.
Sure.
So yeah, a lot of questions, but so it is. I mean, it is interesting to kind of cover something. I know in the years that I do go, trying to keep up with everything and getting pulled all over the halls.
Yeah.
And meeting and seeing these things, and then dealing with some of the staff remotely saying, hey, if you get a chance, go see this or get some pictures of that. And I'll wait and get press releases and shoot it over to the team. And they're like, yep, we already got that. We saw that come across the wire 2 hours ago. And
right.
So there's something really kind of tough about being on the ground.
Yeah.
So there is something to be said about the eye in the sky approach to kind of sit back and see things collectively with embargo times and kind of figure out what is going to be, what are we going to cover?
Right.
What is exciting? What is newsworthy? I mean, excuse me. And that's what brings us to this full podcast is some of the things that we saw or things that we saw come out of CES that are exciting. And these are things that aren't necessarily going to be released tomorrow or even, in the next couple of weeks. Some of these are, like one in particular, the scale we'll talk about could be, later this year. And there's pending some approval for FDA stuff. And so there's regulatory stuff, but it's good to see concepts from companies of where their head is, even to see vehicles once in a while. You're like, that's really cool. That's never going to see the light of day, but I like where you're thinking, where your head is, and what you guys, might do someday. So we do a best of CES, and we kind of look at all kinds of stuff. Again, a decade or more back, it would have been easy to just say these are the phones that excite us the most.
Sure.
But our scope of coverage has evolved and expanded, and we look at a lot of things outside of the mobile space and plenty of things that kind of talk, to phones or talk to smart homes and kind of overlap. But then there's just sometimes we see something gadget-wise that's just, hey, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And that excites me. Or I like that brand and I'm really excited about that product.
Yeah.
So let's take a couple minutes here. I think we ended up at 9.
Yeah.
Best of CES.
Yep.
And so we'll just touch on them briefly.
Yeah.
And then in the show notes, we'll have links to the different announcements or our coverage of that. So if you see that or hear that and you want to look up and find more, be sure to look for that in the show notes. Luke, let's get started.
Yeah.
What do we got first?
The first one is the latest from Roborock. It's the S7 Max V Ultra robot vacuum.
Do you have a robot vacuum?
I do.
They're awesome.
They are cool.
They're really awesome in the sense that it'll run for you, clean up, and they do a better job than you would anticipate.
Yes.
But it's not without kind of like a little bit of, you still got to get your hands dirty. You got to empty this thing out each time.
Yep.
Some of the vacuum cleaners have mopping capabilities, so you got to add water to it or put on the attachment for the mopping. This one does all that.
Right.
And takes care of itself after.
Right.
So it's one step closer to having an actual like robot assistant in your house.
Right.
That's like, hey, we ran the vacuum, we mopped, we emptied the container into the bin, and we added more water back into the mop.
Now it seems like you'll still have to refill the backup tank for where the water goes in, and then you'll have to eventually empty out the bin that it empties from the vacuum.
Solution.
It's not a permanent solution, but it's a lot more of a set it and forget it than those things are now. And that technology has come a very long way.
Yeah. And understanding not just the capability of like picking up, but also, hey, I want this thing to kind of run at night.
Yeah.
And I don't have lights on.
Right.
Sometimes some of the earlier generation had a hard time picking up depth.
Yep.
and some of the early generations of these didn't understand steps or didn't handle obstacles. So if you happen to
or light and dark, it'd go under a chair and get lost.
Yeah, it just completely kind of lose its bearings.
Yep.
So this has all kinds of really cool tech in it that looks to solve some of those problems. And it also, we have pets, so there are days where a toy might end up in the middle of the room.
Yeah.
Or my son's shoes might be over here instead of over there.
Right.
Furniture gets moved. You can reset the maps and things. But, this technology and also just where Roborock is as a brand has really come a long way. And that vacuum can come up to the shoes and just kind of work its way around it and keep on moving without saying, hey, you might need to retrain the map.
Right.
Or, you need to go around and pick up every little thing first before you do this. That's not, that's that hands-off approach that I think excites me a lot about, this model in particular.
Yeah.
And I've reviewed a couple of Roborock vacuums, stick vacuums, and their smart ones, and they're awesome. I have at home right now is R2.
Yeah.
So it's a little white unit that we tell R2 to start cleaning, and goes out and does the job. So
nice.
I have to see if I can get my hands on one of these.
Yeah, dude.
And see if it lives up to it. Anything else on the Roborock?
No.
All right. What's up on the next?
Next thing we got are the Elite 4 Active from Jabra. These are wireless headphones. Mm-hmm. And Jabra is, they're a staple. They've been in Bluetooth ear wear for over a decade easily. They're kind of like to me they're the brand that is like, if you want to get something nice, the first step from like the regular consumer to more of a prosumer is a Jabra.
Yep.
They're built for quality. They're built to last. Crystal clear, voice calls, and
like water resistance and sweat. And, it takes that. It jumps from the budget and novice user to I'm more serious.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for high end audio, but I'm looking for something that sounds good, that fits nice, that isn't going to fall out. And the Jabra Elite brand, some of their active models, they have. This is the 4. But then they've also had like the 75T, some of those sport models. No matter the line, I've always been impressed with them, and I find that they sound great. Yeah. And I always look forward to checking out new ones. Not necessarily because I need to replace earbuds or headphones, but more of like, where are you guys with these now?
Right.
And you see things change with. Different brands have equalizer settings in the apps and things like that. So if you have an older pair of earbuds and you're looking to replace or upgrade, this is the time of year where you start to see, plenty of brands teasing some of their products for the year. And Jabra's one of those that I would say, hey, if they're offering up something new, you should at least take a look at it.
Yeah.
So next on the list, the Withings body scan.
Yeah.
It's a scale. So scales are one of those things that, they're smart.
Yeah.
They're no longer, you just step on, get your weight, but you start to get scales that have body mass index or the ability to track a user. So it knows when you get on that, oh, this is Luke, and then this is Luke's wife. Like you set profiles, and then they talk to the apps, and you can automatically update your weight instead of having to go in and change that in your apps. So that's always getting smarter. And Withings is a brand that has been in the health and wellness space for a long time. And their scales and their products, watches and things, are usually leading edge kind of things. And some of their stuff is more, and I think this is the case here, it's further down the road, and some of it is even pending like governmental approval because it needs to go before a regulatory board and get that. But you're not talking about just weight, but also EKG, and this scale can tell the difference for body limbs and can tell.
Right. Yeah. It gives you it. I mean, it's more of a body scan, not just a weight. I mean, it'll scan your BMI, but it'll also tell you, where, based on the scan, where is that body mass settling? Where is it?
Yeah. Oh, is it all in your legs?
It's your midsection, or it's your calves. It's your and then it also, they're saying, will sync up with health professionals. Or I don't know if it's like, it syncs automatically, or if you can just output that data, take it to your doctor, and your doctor goes, oh, okay, based on this, let's try this, do this.
We see this starting to develop.
Right.
Can we cut back on this, or improve, include, add more of this to your lifestyle? So, and
that's really cool that, a lot of times to get those insights from your doctor, the doctor needs to run tests.
Yep.
And needs to run different scans and then, look at lab work or whatever, and then, call you back and say, hey, based on those tests, here's what we found. If you're telling me, though, I have a way with something at home, I can scan my vitals or whatever and send it to my doc. And then my doctor can call and say, hey, I got your updated scan, and here's something that we might want to look at.
Yeah.
Or everything looks good, without having to kind of do the test. It'll be interesting to see if something like that, if that's, truly what this is supposed to do, what kind of buy-in there is from the medical community. Of, there can be a thought of, well, that's a home device. We have much more sophisticated things that we can check.
Yep.
So, and if that's the case, then what's the point of something like this, right?
Sure.
But I think as our electronics get smarter, that community is more likely to say, yeah, this is doing the heavy lifting for us. Let's just run with those.
And this can capture the data passively for us.
Yep.
And not just the snapshot of, hey, it's been 6 months since you've been here.
Right.
But you can collect this stuff that may not even matter to you on a day-to-day.
Sure.
But when you scale back and look at that view as over time, you can start to see things happening. That's very valuable data.
Yeah.
Not something that you might look at or incorporate into an app or your own day-to-day lifestyle. But if you realize, hey, this is something that can be measured, and your doctor says keep an eye on this by doing this, I think the Withings brand or their solutions are a great portfolio. So if that's something where your physical health is, you got one body, so if you want to start taking things seriously, these things aren't exactly cheap, but
no,
it's a couple of trips to the doctor.
Right.
It's, you're going to spend that anyways to get some of that information.
Right.
So,
well, and there's something to be said that if you have a device that will do this in your house, and you spend, you check it. Let's say you check it once or twice a week, or even more if you're weighing yourself every day or something. The more thought you're putting into something, the more you're paying attention to it.
Yep.
Right. So if you are paying attention to your body and what some of this stuff can say about your body, then you're just more well informed, and you might say, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna get one cheeseburger.
Yeah.
I don't need two.
Yeah. Or
it's stuff like that without having to be on a diet, so to speak. It's mindful. Just a little bit more mindful of.
Yep.
What are you doing?
Yeah. So that's the Withings body scan scale. This one is more in line at our heart.
Yeah.
The OnePlus 10 Pro.
Yeah.
It's a phone, so it's right up our alley. This is one that is going to be launching in China on the 11th. So really, probably by the time you're listening to this.
Yeah.
But will be coming to the U.S. And we selected this one, even though it wasn't officially announced. It was teased through CES, and I don't know if OnePlus had originally intended something different around the conference. But we selected this one because we are big fans of what OnePlus does as a phone brand.
Right.
And, not without its own little quibbles and quirks and fallbacks. And if you get on Reddit, you can start finding, you can tug on any seam and start to unravel things. But as a whole, for consumers, I really feel strongly about endorsing that brand and recommending it to people who are, hey, I'm looking for something, I don't know if I want to go with a Galaxy S, or something big, but I want something that's quality. I usually start with Pixel.
Yeah.
And if that's a no-go for them, then OnePlus is, it's an easy one to follow up and say, hey, get something like this because it's close to stock Android with a little bit of the right extras.
Yep.
It's good hardware, current software. So specifications, if you're into phones, you probably already have this on your radar, but you're looking at, for this particular model, the 10 Pro, a 6.7-inch display, rumored to have 120 hertz refresh rate. Memory, you're looking at 8 to 12 gigabytes, which is really high. Storage at 128, 256 gigabytes.
Yep.
48 megapixel camera, multi-camera setup. 5,000 milliamp battery with an 80 watt wired charger. I don't know how they do it.
That's insane.
Their warp technology keeps getting better and faster. And at 80 watts and even 50 watts wireless is what this thing's, rumored to have or unofficially has. And all of that powered by a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 Pro processor from Qualcomm. So you're looking at, just a monster.
Yeah.
And if you're somebody who likes to have some of the latest and greatest, this is what 2022 is going to look like.
Yeah.
You're going to see something very similar from Samsung out of the next Galaxy series. You're going to see, other players globally, but they're not going to stray too far from these specifications in the near term.
Sure.
So if you're a flagship person, it's flagship season.
Right.
And so that's the OnePlus 10 Pro. Put that on your radar. Keep an eye on that. Luke, what's next?
The next thing is something, kind of almost an accessory to a mobile phone, but it's for your car. It's the Motorola MA1. And this is a dongle that you connect for Android Auto in your car. And it's one of those things. Have you had Android Auto in your car?
Not that I've personally owned. I've spent some time with different cars with people that do. And one of the first things that usually comes up is, oh, wait, I have to plug this in?
Right. So, yeah, I had a head unit in my car that was Android Auto, and Android Auto is awesome. It's really cool. But you got to plug your phone in. And then,
which sounds trivial.
It's really not that bad at all once you get used to it. But there's times where, you get in the car and you run into the store real quick. You don't want to necessarily have to take your phone out of your pocket and plug it in and blah, blah, blah. And there are head units on the market now that are hands-free.
Yeah.
Android Auto. They're slowly coming out. That space seems like it's evolving a little slower than most people want.
Yeah, or you would have thought.
Right. But this dongle lets you, it's basically a quick connect solution for you get in your car, turn your car on, and you're on Android Auto.
And you don't have to worry about taking your phone out of your pocket
Nope.
or your purse. If that kind of leads to the the habits and the lifestyle.
Yep.
where if you have the phone out and you have to plug it in, there's the temptation of picking that phone up while you have it. And, well, I'm just going to check this. I'm just, so if I'm the type of person that has something like this, I plug it into my car. I'm getting in the car and my phone stays in my pocket the whole time, unless I need to charge it.
Yeah.
And I know that it's in there, and now I'm using voice commands, or I'm using the smarts from my phone to power that display.
I can't tell you how many times when I had that head unit, I would leave my phone in my car on accident because it just was plugged in, and I wasn't looking at my phone because I was really trying to practice safe driving, non-distracted driving. I had Android Auto, so I was like, you know what? You're not supposed to do this. I'm not going to do this.
Right.
And then I would turn my car off and get out of my car and then, be in the store and go, oh, where's my phone? Oh, it's in my car. And, it's one of those that is such not an issue, is really not a thing. But if there is something like this that lets you just have the peace of mind to just, without having to buy an expensive head unit.
Right.
You can just, hey, I'm connected. I'm good to go. All I have to do is just make sure that this is plugged into my car.
Yep. So that's the Motorola MA1.
Yep.
Back to phones.
Back to phones.
Now, this is an official announcement.
Yes.
And if you're listening to this on around the 11th or later, this is a product that is out, available.
Yep.
Samsung announced a new phone, but it's technically a different version.
But did they?
Hey, we don't say that when Google announces the A series.
That's right.
So this is kind of like what they do.
Yeah.
It's everything you love about the Galaxy S21.
Yep.
Without some of the bleeding edge stuff.
Yeah.
So it's the most of everything you need, some of what you want.
Yep.
But priced more affordably. And it's kind of like it depends on what cycle you get into. If I constantly have to buy the newest, and you're getting that phone, but if you get caught halfway between that, instead of buying last year's model, this is a good way of buying a current model, with a newer version of Android and actually some improvements over last year's.
Right.
So it's a nice hybrid kind of stopgap. I almost kind of wish they don't call it the fan edition of that. I feel like you could get away with calling it something else.
Yeah.
If it was like Google has it locked down with the A.
Yeah.
You just know that it's a light version, a junior flagship version of that. But the S21 fan edition, big screen, 6.4 inch with 120 hertz refresh rate, 12 megapixel ultra wide camera, Snapdragon 888 processor,
so good,
8 gigs of RAM,
Yep.
On the high end with 256 storage,
Yep.
and then you've got 6 with 128. Got a big battery, 4,500 milliamp, runs Android 12, and it's IP68 rated, so it's splash resistant. Take a dunk, get it out of the pool, it's going to be okay. And it's offered in some new colors too. So if you are on the fence and you're looking for something that is not the $1,000 premium flagship stuff, but you don't want to buy a generation or two old, this is a great option for that. So, that's Samsung Galaxy S21 FE or Fan Edition.
Yep.
What's next?
Next one is, I'm going to see if I can pronounce this name because I don't know. UFI?
That is correct.
All right. EUFI.
Or Eufy?
Eufy. I knew it wasn't Eufy, but yeah. So it is. It's a doorbell. So it's a smart security doorbell.
Yeah.
But this is the dual. So it has 2 cameras.
Which, at first, you're kind of like, wait.
Why?
Yeah, why? Doesn't my doorbell capture everything I need? But you and I both have smart doorbells.
We do.
And when you start to look at this one, you realize...
What's the downfall of your smart doorbell?
It's the field of view.
Exactly.
So it's going to be either tall
Yep.
and kind of stretched if it's trying to get the porch, or it's just like a wide view
Yeah.
that just doesn't give you quite the detail
Well, so I feel like smart doorbells have gotten way better in their field of view, especially with apps. You can really dial it into what do you want me to look at, and it will look at, what you tell it to. But the thing, in the age, especially in the last year or so, we've had so many more packages being delivered. What this does is it gives you a wider field of view to actually see the things that are sitting like on the porch below it, essentially, because that's the main gripe is with the doorbell. Now you only have so much of a field of view, and if anything gets right up to the door, if they set a package right by the door, you can't see it.
Yeah, and if somebody was sneaky enough or kind of had an idea where your range was, they can sneak along that wall.
It's possible, yeah.
And do that. They're taking a risk to do all that, but this kind of says, hey, we've got a really good camera for people that are approaching. We can detect whether or not it's a family member or friend. We know we've got some AI recognition, but we also have a second camera that just points down and keeps an eye on the porch, and we don't, we know what the package is there.
Right.
We've got eyes on it.
Right.
Even though when you glance at your traditional smart doorbell, it just kind of looks at the yard.
Well, yeah, and if you get a notification from Amazon that says, hey, package was delivered, all right, cool. You can pull up your history of your doorbell and see, all right, I see it dropped off. Or sometimes, depending on how you have it set up, you'll get a notification and you'll see the delivery guy dropping it off. But if you're expecting something, expensive or, really rare or something that gets delivered and you're still not home for 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
I want to check and make sure that that's still sitting right there.
Right.
Because what happens, you get home and it's not there, and then you have to scroll back and go,
when did it go away?
When did it go away?
Who grabbed it? Yeah.
But if you can actually see right there, all right, it's still sitting there. You're still okay. And that's, maybe this is a niche use, or maybe a paranoid person or something like that. But
now I have used the previous version of this. It's the single camera.
Yeah.
And that little base plugs into your router or your network.
Yeah.
When they ring the doorbell, it rings inside. You hear it ring on there. Same thing here. This will actually keep 90 days of video recording on there, so that's nice.
Yeah.
And it'll also tie into Google or Amazon Alexa, so if you want to pull it up and see what's on the camera on different things, you can do that on your smart displays.
Nice.
So, yeah, to your point, it might be a little bit more focused, kind of not necessary kind of thing. But we would have said the same thing about phones with 2 cameras not that long ago.
Right.
Like, what's the point?
Right.
So I would not be surprised if this is one of the ones on the front end of 2 camera solutions going forward.
Yep.
What else do we have? Oh, Aftershocks rebranded to Shocks.
Yep.
I think, was it like a decade or so they've been in the game? So they have a new line. They kind of rebranded their headphones. They're big into bone conduction.
Yeah.
Have you ever messed with bone conduction?
I have not.
So that's a weird thing, man.
Is it?
It's a really weird thing. To have them on and to hear music kind of like in your temples.
Yeah.
To kind of feel like everybody around you hears. It's like you're listening to speakers that nobody else can kind of hear.
Right.
Now, you could pick up, I can tell that you're listening to something. Kind of, it doesn't bleed a lot, but these are, one of the things with that type of technology is they aren't quite as robust. The sound profile, the layers aren't quite there. The bass, the lows, the new version or the Shocks Open Run Pro look to kind of address those things.
Right.
So you're going to get more in the low range, and you're going to get a little bit louder volume overall. And they also have 10 hours per charge.
Yeah.
And they charge crazy fast. I'm really excited about these because they have, 5 minutes on the charger will give you up to 90 minutes of listening.
That's insane.
So if you're getting ready to go work out and you're like, oh, crap, I forgot to even charge these things. You're gonna just the drive over is gonna be plenty. Or if you're like, I'm getting ready to actually run out of the house right now, plug them in,
Yeah.
Get your shoes, get your playlist set up, grab your water bottle, do whatever it is to get ready to go, stretch.
Yeah.
You're going to have plenty of listening on that. So
nice.
So those are going to be available, I believe, in 4 colors, and I think we have some of those on their way here.
Sweet.
To review. So I'm really excited about those.
Sweet.
I think we have one left, right?
Yeah, we do.
Chromebook.
Yeah, from Acer.
Acer. Yep, they announced a handful of Chromebooks this year. But I think we like this one because it's that everyman appeal.
Yeah.
Chromebooks can kind of fall into a number of categories where there's like, my first Chromebook, $150.
Yep.
Then you've got on the high end things that are $1,000 that rival premium laptops.
Right.
And then somewhere in the upper end, you've got things that are going to be about $600.
Sure.
For like a quality mid-range device. This one actually is priced lower than that. It's going to come in at about $300.
Right.
And it's got a lot of features in there that previously you would have said, oh, that sounds more expensive.
Yeah.
So the Chromebook 315 has a massive, for Chromebooks, this is pretty big.
Yeah.
15 and a half or 15.6 inch display.
That's a big screen for a Chromebook.
It is. I mean, we're on a Windows PC in front of us, and it's 13, 14 inches.
Right. And it feels fine. That feels normal. That's kind of the trend of most things right now.
Yeah.
15-inch, though, that's big.
And it's an anti-glare, and as you read through the press release, it sounds like the kind of Chromebook or screen that you porch.
Yep.
Take it out on the patio. Don't worry about the glare from the light.
Yep.
And it's just so big, like for text, that when you move from a 4-inch to a 6-inch phone, or a 5.5 to a 6-inch phone, you feel that difference.
Yep.
Same thing for a Chromebook, not just for like media consumption, but if you're typing a document, those extra lines, your emails, things like that.
Yeah.
That space makes a pretty good difference.
Yeah.
Other things in here, this has a couple of USB-A ports, a couple of USB-C ports, micro SD card reader, Wi-Fi 6.
Yeah.
I still don't even know when it'll be before I have Wi-Fi 6 in my house.
Right.
That's one of those technologies that last year CES, it was a really big deal. A lot of routers and mesh network systems.
Right.
So we're starting to get that in the homes and the offices. So this is kind of a little bit of a future-proof kind of Chromebook.
Well, and it means it's set up, it seems like a lot of ports for a Chromebook compared to what you normally see. You normally get, I know the one we have at home, there's a C and one A port.
Yep.
But this has 2 of each and an SD card reader.
Yes, this sounds more like, if this stays in the office, you can plug in your printer, plug in a little hub to it.
It's a little more productive.
Yeah, plug in an external monitor. If you've got a Bluetooth keyboard, mouse, like it's a computer with a 15.5-inch display.
Right.
That's priced to move.
Yep.
A lot of times I have people ask me, I'm looking for a new laptop or I'm looking for a Chromebook. Where do I go brand-wise? I've always been happy with Acer.
Yeah.
There's a couple other brands out there, but I usually tell people if your needs aren't going to change much from what you're doing now. So anything that you're replacing is going to be a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
But ports are one of those things where, hey, a Chromebook is its own thing. You're in the browser. You're not doing a ton of things.
Right.
But if you can get away with the extra ports, it sounds kind of silly, but if you can kind of get an extra
You'll
one
use
or
it
two
at some point.
Yeah, you get 1 or 2 extra.
Yeah.
It's peace of mind.
Yeah.
So that one I believe is already available, or if you go to Acer's website, you can look it up.
Yep.
So that is the Chromebook 315.
Right.
So pretty mixed bag.
Yeah, there's a lot of different stuff, and I mean there was definitely more that we didn't cover. I mean there was announcements of new graphics cards, some new processors. There were
cars are always interesting.
More smart cars, more smart trucks,
more foldable displays and screens that roll,
all kinds of stuff. And as the year unfolds, you'll see us talk about probably more of that stuff.
Yeah. Some of the stuff that was announced or shown off. And that's another thing that you miss by not getting the in-person is sometimes you can just see these concepts.
Yeah.
And, hey, here's something we're working on. We're not ready to announce anything, but come take a look at this screen that we can wrap around a wrist.
Right.
Or can roll up around a pencil.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't make sense today, but in the future you'll understand why we did this.
Yeah.
Or how we did
I remember
this.
when a couple years ago at CES, there was a couple of different manufacturers that were talking about autonomous people transport for public transport.
Yep.
And that, because of everything that's been going on in the world, it seems like you haven't heard anything about that lately.
Sure.
But that's one of those things that I wouldn't have picked out of, like, we'll see that.
Yeah.
And so there's probably a lot more of that stuff this year of things that, we're not really thinking about, but there are solutions out there for problems we don't even know we have.
Right.
And that's kind of the cool thing about these consumer electronic shows.
Yeah. Well, that's going to do it.
Yeah.
For me.
Yep.
This was special episode. Very special.
Very special CES.
Best of CES 2022. If you saw something if you're listening to this and you saw something come out headline-wise, product-wise, and it excites you, let us know about it. Leave a comment. Email us. Reach out. Tweet. Wherever. Let us know what you think is some of the most exciting stuff. And if you think we overlooked something, we'd love to hear what you think should have been on our list. So if you haven't had a chance to, subscribe to us. Podcast pretty much anywhere you're going to find us. Anywhere that you're finding podcasts now, we are there. And if you could share with somebody else, let them know about us. Like, subscribe, do all the stuff. You know what to do. We don't have to tell you how to do it. But that's going to do it for me. And then we'll be back again with another episode of Hanging with the Guys.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
See ya.